Today I'm going to share mistakes. I don't even know why I'm so happy about this. I'm going to share mistakes that I've made as a beauty therapist. I have made a video like this already. This is like a, unfortunately it's a part 2. Yeah, I've made quite a few, but I'm only sharing it so that you learn from it and you don't make the same mistakes. This bird needs to go away. Sorry if you can hear that bird outside. The first mistake I made was with an eyebrow wax. When I put the wax on, it was quite thick. And then when I stuck the strip on, some of the wax went into the eyebrow. When I pulled it off, the lady ended up having a gap in the eyebrow. It pulled off a few strands that I didn't want to pull off. Now this was when I didn't even have a level 2 qualification. I only did 1-day courses, so I wasn't even fully qualified. But even if you are qualified, if you don't focus, you can just as easily make the same mistake. Now to be fair, when I was combing her brows up, it looked perfectly fine. But because some of her brows were naturally growing downwards, it made the gap look even worse. And of course she noticed it when I gave her the mirror to look at it. And I just told her, look, you need to brush it up. I didn't want to admit that I made a mistake. You can make loads of mistakes as a beauty therapist, but when it comes to eyebrows, it's probably one of the worst mistakes that you can make. Anything on the face really, because it's your face. The next mistake I made was in the same salon. This was when I was 16. I didn't have a level 2 qualification. I only did 1-day courses in manicures and pedicures. Me and one of the other girls, we both had the same job. We were both Saturday girls, except I did the 1-day courses, she didn't. At this particular time, the manager didn't have staff. She only had us two. So she was looking for a beauty therapist. And in the meantime, I was doing the treatments that I did 1-day courses in. Also, at this particular time, the manager was on holiday and it was me and the other Saturday girl that was in charge. She must have had a lot of faith in us and a lot of trust in us. But no, if you're a manager, you do not give 2 16-year-olds the responsibility of running a salon. So I did a manicure. The customer didn't like her manicure. Now we didn't really know what to offer her, so we just suggested that she comes back tomorrow and then I'll redo her nails for her. We took her name and her contact number and then she left. Once she left, we both looked at each other and thought, oh, we didn't take any payment. Now knowing our manager would have taken payment but at a discounted price. That's how she would have dealt with it, but we didn't really think of that at the time. But we thought, oh, it doesn't matter, she's going to come back tomorrow anyway, I'll redo her manicure and then she'll pay the full price. She didn't come back. So the next day we called her, it was a fake contact number, it was probably a fake name as well. So she ended up getting her nails done for free. Every salon is different. There are salons I've worked at where if a customer's very unhappy with their service, we don't charge them. But this manager and this salon in particular, I know that she does charge them, but at a discounted price. I'm now going to move on to mistakes that I made when I was qualified, but yeah, it doesn't really make a difference. The mistakes were just as bad, even worse. With this mistake, I feel like you needed to be there to know how bad this actually was. I'm going to try and describe it in as much detail as I can so you can imagine how bad it was. I was doing a Casey non-surgical facelift. The client was asleep. A lot of clients would find it quite relaxing, so they would fall asleep. Just in case you don't know what the facelift is, it's basically you use probes to lift, you do like a sequence where you lift all of the facial muscles and re-educate them to lift where they used to be. And you use these probes where the attachments are made from metal, and then you put like cotton buds so that you're obviously not lifting people's muscles with a piece of metal, you're using cotton buds to lift it so it's softer. So you need to change the cotton buds and the attachments and stuff, and I normally do this on my lap. Like an idiot, I was changing the cotton buds over the client, and as I was changing the cotton buds, it slipped. It slipped out of my hand and it landed right in the middle of her forehead. If you're trained in Casey, you know how heavy these probes are and how thick the metal is. You know when you drop your phone on your face, it feels worse than that. When I tell you I heard that metal probe dent her head, okay? I heard it hit her skull. So she was fast asleep. I dropped this heavy metal probe on her head. She woke up. I gasped because I was like, oh! I gasped really loudly, and then she woke up and she was like, what happened? What happened? She was like holding her head and she was like, what happened? And I'm like, I'm so sorry, I dropped it. I'm so sorry, it slipped out of my hand. I was so apologetic. Anyway, she laid back down and I carried on with her facial. Her forehead was so red and I watched a bump. Like I saw it forming. It was just growing and growing and growing. At the end, when I put the moisturizer on and I went over her forehead, I felt that bump. Like, oh, it was so bad. She was a regular customer of mine and she didn't tip me that time. She did come back though, because she had a course. I never, ever, ever did stuff over a client again. Nah. I've made a couple mistakes here where the mistake is where I've laughed. I was doing a lip wax. Now, I had a long day. I feel like I'm always giving you excuses for my mistakes, but yeah, I had a long day. My final client was a lip wax. And for some reason, I couldn't describe this movement here. You know, when you stretch out the lip with your tongue? I couldn't get my words out. So I said to the client, I said, stick your tongue out. And then she went, I was like, I'm so sorry, my instructions weren't clear. I meant push your tongue through your cheek to stretch the skin. I couldn't get my words out. Yeah, it's funny how much control we have as beauty therapists. I literally told the woman to stick her tongue out and she did. She didn't even know why. The next mistake is something I did recently. Luckily it wasn't on a client, it was on my colleague. So I did a lip wax and I was trying to be quick. There were a few hairs left here and I just wanted to tweeze them out quickly. But I was doing it so quickly, I wasn't careful, I didn't stretch the skin and I basically like clamped her lip. I almost tweezed her whole lip off. I've had this happen to me on my eyebrows. When you pinch someone's skin on the eyebrow area right underneath here, it hurts so much. And I'm sure it hurt just as bad on the lip. It's definitely not worth rushing. Even something as simple as tweezing, make sure that you stretch the skin, make sure that you're being careful. The next mistake, again, I didn't do it on a client, I did it on a colleague, luckily, but I still felt just as bad. Like, I probably felt worse because it was someone I know. I was removing milia where we use like disposable needles. Let's just say this is the needle. So you poke the milia. I normally put the needle to the side and then I squeeze it out and it pops out. Now, because I was trying to be quick, I always make mistakes when I'm rushing. I thought it would be quicker if I poke and then somehow like hold the needle in my palm and then use my thumbs to where I'm still holding the needle, but squeeze and then poke and then squeeze. I thought it would be quicker. But what I didn't realise is as I was squeezing, that needle was it dug into her skin here. So she said ow because it's a very sharp needle and it's quite thick as well. Like the tip is thin but the needle in general, the rest of the needle is quite thick. I lift my hands up and I saw that she was bleeding here and I started to panic and I felt so bad and I thought, oh my god, what if I've scarred her? Lucky she wasn't a customer, but it's just as bad when you do it to someone you know. Luckily it didn't scar, it healed up fine, but that doesn't, we were both traumatized. The next mistake isn't that bad, but it's basically just to tell you that you should think before you speak. I had this client and whenever she would come in for her facial, again she was a regular, her hair always looked wet and I'm thinking, does she shower every time she comes in for a facial? So one day I asked her, I was like, is your hair wet? She was like, no. I then realised that it was her hair colour. Her hair was dark brown, but some areas were light and some areas were dark, and those dark patchy areas made it look like her hair was wet. I'm not good at lying, I'm not good at making up stuff on the spot. I was just like, I felt like Ross when he tried to kiss his cousin and then he's silent but in his head he's like, okay, say something clever. Okay, it doesn't have to be clever, just words, say some words. So I'm there staring at her, trying to think of something, and then I was like, oh, I think it's the lighting in here, you know? Anyway, let me start your facial, come lie down. I couldn't tell her it's because she had 5 different tones of brown in her hair and it made her hair look wet. Now, the next mistake, again, it was something I did recently. Like, come on Melis, you should know better by now, you've been doing this for 5 years, but hey. A client came in, of course. I was told that she only wanted this middle bit of her eyebrow waxed and that's it. So I quickly did the middle part of her brow, took 2 seconds, and I was like, okay, we're finished. And then she was like, no, like I want the rest done as well. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. Carried on doing her brows, went to the reception, and I said, oh, she didn't just want the middle part of her brow, she wanted her whole brows done. They stared at me like this, and I was like, what did I do wrong? Apparently she was underaged, and her mother only told her that she could get the middle part of her brow done. In my defense, she did not look like she was below 16. She was a tall girl. But what I've learnt from this is I should have said, okay, wait 1 minute, gone back to reception and asked them first. It's always worth checking rather than being in that situation. The next mistake, it's not really a mistake, it's like a little mini story time for you. I was doing the KC non-surgical facelift. Again, this client was asleep, as most clients fall asleep during this facial. I'm there getting on with the sequence, and then she was seeing a dream, and the reason I know that she was dreaming is because she was doing weird stuff with her mouth. She was going like this. So she's... Okay, I'm gonna try and do this without laughing. She was like... I'm not gonna laugh this time. Okay, so she was sleeping, she was going like this. I was kind of freaked out. I was a bit like, what is going on here? My theory is that she was dreaming that she was eating a burger. I couldn't even lift the muscles around her cheek area properly because she kept doing that. So I sort of just moved on, which actually is a mistake. I should have woken her up because she's not going to get a good result if I'm not lifting the muscle properly. So I should have woken her up. I left the worst mistake till last. There was a client who would come every like 3-4 months to get a upper body wax. So it was the full back, full chest, underarms and full arm. When I do an arm wax, I get the client to sit up. So I'm doing the arm wax. I got up to the shoulder area here, and a lot of clients do this. They like to look at what I'm doing. Okay, so he's looking at what I'm waxing. I put the wax on, I pulled the strip. What do you think happened? I punched him in the face. As if that's not bad enough, I laughed. I was so shocked at what I just did. I was like, I'm so sorry, please don't sue me. And when you're pulling a strip, your brain has told you to hold that strip tight and pull it in this direction fast. So I know how hard I must have punched him. Luckily he was a regular customer. But yeah, what have we learnt from this? Whenever you are waxing the arm, especially this bit, tell the client to look away. And those are the mistakes that I made as a beauty therapist, part 2. I really hope there isn't a part 3 because I'm gonna lose my job at this point. No one's gonna hire me. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to see more videos, and I'll see you next time. Bye.